One. Welcome, guys, to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have my friend Chris Oland with us today. Chris is co-founder of RevGen Labs and RevReply. He's into AI, sales, and growth hacking, just like I am. So we're gonna have fun jamming here and just letting the ideas rip and ask Chris what he's been up to. Because last call we talked about his company, but yeah, that guy's constantly growing. He's in Los Angeles. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your podcast, you want to scale your podcast and monetize it, you can go to podpire.com. That's my podcasting agency. Chris, welcome to the pod, buddy. What have you been up to as of late?
What have I been up to? So I feel like I've been up to a lot, but I certainly haven't run 100 kilometers. I haven't done any ultra marathons, nothing like that. So in comparison, maybe a little bit less busy, but since we last spoke about a year ago, that was right when we were starting the agency. So RevGen Labs has done really, really well. We're at about 160K a month in revenue. We manage about 25 clients. So we've built out this massive engine, and the last couple of months we've spent really like stabilizing it. To get ready for another expansion, because I think any of the other agency owners that are doing like this type of work will tell you it's very easy to get stuck at these bottleneck points. And so we're trying to like relax just a little bit, pump the brakes a little bit, find some stability, rebuild our systems to support the next stage of growth. So that's what RevGen Labs has been doing, and so we're preparing a bunch of different offers because the landscape has changed a lot in the last even 2 months for the coming year. And then RevReply, that's our SaaS tool. I think you've used it actually back in the day when it was in its infancy, and so that's come a long way. So RevReply, our SaaS tool, for anyone watching, is our AI autoresponder, which basically acts like an SDR in your inbox, right? So when you start all of these outbound campaigns, as emails are coming in, you need to get back to them quickly. Speed to lead is like literally everything, right? Like you can have everything perfect infrastructure, perfect campaigns, perfect messaging, perfect targeting. And then you get to the point where the person's actually like, hey, I'm interested in your product. And if you drop the ball at that point, you lose it, right? And so we built this tool that responds like an SDR would in 3 to 5 minutes. So if you're out running an ultra marathon and you got leads coming in, they're being handled, right? They're not being dropped, because again, with people getting hundreds to thousands of emails a day, even if they respond to you and they're like, yeah, I'm interested in your product, you don't get back to them, like poof, they're gone, right? So anyways, lots of work on RevReply. We'll see some really interesting changes in the coming year for that. Lots of work on RevGen Labs, but aspiring to be like you, man, just get busier, work harder, and do better, right?
I'm inspired to be like you agency wise because Top Leads isn't at the 160K mark yet. I think we're about like at 30 or 50K per month. It's a solo agency, right? And it's almost fully automated, but I think I can learn much from you from the client acquisition side of things. So you mentioned speed to reply. You mentioned evergreen copy from the polls that I read about you. There's deliverability as well, which is a total shit show nowadays. I've been like fixing mine in the last 10 days. So generally speaking, how do you acquire clients? Is it like LA clients? Is it San Francisco based client? Like how did you grow so fast?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking actually, we've started to build a European side of our business. Most of our clients, though, however, are in the US. I would say a lot of it's been outbound. Well, it's all outbound generally. But we happen to have, I think, a really good team. So again, we're not like you are an individual building an empire, right? We kind of went the route of like, hey, we're all really good at a few things. We're not all great at everything. So we need to bring in some killer support. So we have effectively, like my co-founder, Ramsey Al-Ramahi, he's the global head of sales at Apollo. And he was the 15th hire at Apollo.io. And early days, I was Apollo's like main power user, right? They would send all of their business to me, and I would, help make their product sticky. So we've got a long background in this, and I think that we leverage that certainly when we're trying to reach out to clients and say, hey, like, I think they're a little bit more receptive maybe because of that for us. And then when you get them on the call, yeah, we kind of walk through our pitch and our process. And I think that we've built it in such a way that it's exciting for people. We become a real partner to your team to like build this white glove service. But the way that we break down and look at, I think, deliverability, messaging, response handling are all really easy to digest for people. And I think that's maybe one of the keys to our success.
Nice, man. And your monthly price is around 5-10K per month. How does that work?
Yeah, that's typically what we're between 5 and 10K. We have a few clients in the 20, one client in the 40. And so we've got some bigger clients and more enterprise level clients, but we're also trying to make sure that we bring a lower offering as well for people in the coming year, because again, it's getting more challenging. And if we could have brought on all of these people at $1,500 in a pay per lead, or $2,500 or $3,500 in a slightly less managed offering, we think we're going to find success across the board.
Right. And your tech stack, what does it look like nowadays? It's still Apollo. Like, what's your deliverability tool? I know that you use RevReply for your reply. What does your tech stack look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have kind of a Frankenstack, if you will. So I would say that our some of our biggest data sources are we still use Apollo, of course. We use tools like Store Leads. We use Clay and Claygent a lot. So we are Clay experts now, and or going through the process. We've kind of just haven't finished it, but and I run Clay LA. So anyways, we use a lot of Clay, Apollo, things like Store Leads, right? Real easy to access things for on that level. We use like Reune for data cleansing. We use Lead Magic a lot. Lead Magic is a real dope tool, Jesse's tool. And then in the middle, we have been testing. We had originally built some of our own sending infrastructure. We used the backbone of Smart Leads for a while. We are now moving over to some new infrastructure that we're testing that we're really bullish on. That's private sending infrastructure. So for that, it's still kind of pick your poison, right? Each one of those things, like Instantly's got some fatal flaws. Smart Lead isn't perfect. There's no perfect answer there. You got to test. You got to find that one for yourself. For our sending infrastructure, we're starting to build all of our own. And that's going to be, I think, the key to our success in 2024 is being able to own that. Because what we're seeing, I mean, man, those costs, like you remember a year ago, you could send 50 emails per outbox. It's down to like 3 emails, 5 emails. And so I think that that's going to be the key to success for a lot of people is, can you figure out how to own or build that? And then, of course, RevReply at the top. So,
right. Lately, I've been working on my deliverability. I'm still at like 50 per mailbox, which might be too much, but I've been shifting from SendGrid shared IPs, so their essentials 100K plan, to private IP. So I'm now on their pro plan, A/B testing that and changing IP because I feel my IP was into some kind of trouble. My open rates are back to 30%. I'm still working on getting them back to my original 50-60%, which I had about 8 months ago. I'm also A/B testing Mailgun again. Mailgun seems to have some 30-40% on the side. And by the way, that's me coming back from really shitty open rates with my own account because I took a lot of risks as of late, putting links, thinking I was the shit when it came to deliverability, and I got slapped across the face in the last couple of weeks. So, what are your recommendations or comments on the deliverability stack that I just mentioned?
That's actually really good. So really interesting that you say that. I think that that's a very thoughtful stack. We're actually getting back to testing some of those, like the SendGrid individual IP may be a huge thing in the coming year, because I know, for example, Mission Inbox is Tony Baltadano, good friend of mine as well. He just did a session in this group that I run, but basically he just said, this is what we use this SendGrid unique IP. We also use some of our own IPs. The value being, Outlook blew up last month, blew up for everyone. It doesn't matter who you were, unless you have a 20-year-old domain and you're sending low volume emails, like, you got screwed somewhat. You may not have seen it, but you did. And what Tony's does, and what is effectively the same as yours, right? His is a private SMTP with like a SendGrid and some of his own IPs layered in. So what you're doing, layering the SendGrid IP, will be effective, specifically for Outlook, which is the hardest one to deliver to. Having said that, I think it's important to kind of do a lot of things, right? We have probably 5 inbox providers that we were using, and now we're like, no, we got to own this. So we've spent the last 6 weeks, while things have been really terrible in terms of performance, building it. So anyways, to your point, the SendGrid, I think, but what you need to do with the SendGrid is you need to have like the one IP for yourself, right? Whatever that's called. Yeah.
Dedicated IP. So
yep.
I also want to, before we talk AI outreach, right, which is one of our favorite topic, tell me about, like, generally your copywriting secrets. I know you're really bullish on lead magnets still. So tell me about, like, your core offer and usually how you get product market fit for yourself and your clients.
Yeah. So that's a really good question, and a really difficult question. Because ultimately the success of what you sell comes down to your offer. Is it something that people need? And so we kind of test through all of these different verticals and try and make sure that that's right. We can get down the core offering correct. Because I know, and I've got good friends. Justin Chi is one of them, who we just ran a session too on just basic default copy. But we kind of break it down into 4 categories, if you will. So there we go. 4 categories. So we do evergreen campaigns, incentive campaigns, trigger campaigns, AI campaigns. What does that mean? Incentive is, evergreen. Evergreen is default static copy, right? This is where you test your value props. You just do good targeting and do damn good copy. And you got to make this one work, because if this doesn't work, the other 3 are probably not going to work, because that's kind of the core tenet of finding your value prop, right? So test through a bunch in evergreen. So static copy, target, figure out that vertical. Then we do incentive. Incentive is where we kind of talk about lead magnets, right? So incentive is the law of reciprocity. Give before you take, right? Hey, we just built this framework on how we drove this success for this company. Can I send it over to you, right? Don't ask for the meeting. Ask to offer them value. Now, there's the other side of incentive, which is like literal incentives, right? Hey, like, can I get your team on a lunch and learn, right? Like, hey, saw you're in Chicago. Can I take you to a Bulls game, right? Whatever that looks like for you with your high value targets, like that's where you want to go to, right? Third is trigger. 4th is AI. So to round those out, a trigger and AI, simply put, trigger is putting your ear to the ground and listening for things and cues that someone might be in the market. And then AI is enriching it with AI. So one example that people use, which we don't rely on this one that heavily anymore, but for a long time people were talking about it, was like the hiring campaign, right? So if you're selling, media buying services, and someone is hiring for a media buyer, that they've got those pain points, right? So again, if you're going online and you're scraping all media buyer job postings, you're then running them through AI to extrapolate the pain point. You're then going to their company website or and like scraping their website. You're going to their LinkedIn and scraping their last 20 LinkedIn announcements, and then you're going to the person's LinkedIn that would be hiring for that person, and you're scraping their profile, and you find out that they love, kayaking, or they love ultra marathoning, right? You can say, hey, noticed you're hiring for this position. I imagine you've got pain points A, B, and C. we can help you by doing 1, 2, and 3. By the way, saw you love ultra marathoning. I just got back from a 5K, right? And so now you've reached a trigger. So something that's saying, hey, there's blood in the water, there's a need here, and then all of the everything else that goes along with it.
Love that, man. Okay, so various campaigns here. I'm gonna try a bit more the lead magnets on my side. Gonna ask ChatGPT like probably 7 ideas that I can give them, and yeah, give them in a digestible format, even directly in the email. Right? No need of a PDF that could potentially impact my deliverability. I think I'm doing a lot of trigger campaigns too nowadays, but I guess I could do more of those for myself and my clients. What I'm definitely doing a lot nowadays, probably like 80% of my campaigns, it's AI outreach. Apart from the simple podcast campaigns, which I'm pretty sure you've A/B tested before, I'm doing some ICP mentioning campaign, the pain point mentioning campaigns. I'm pre-sending AI questions for the podcast for my podcast agency, for example. So how are you using specifically AI? What concepts of AI campaigns have you been really successful with lately?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So two shout outs here. One to so Eric's gonna appreciate this because I've gotten a bunch of Eric framework emails in the past week and I keep sending them to him. But Eric's like 3 ideas framework was always really successful as a lead magnet in a email, right? Hey, here are 3 ideas on how we could do X, Y, and Z to help your company do A, B, and C, right? And then you have AI generate those 3 ideas, right? The other thing that we're using a lot of right now, again, is, and this is a big shout out to Jordan Crawford, who he released a course a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and I would suggest anyone go spend the $250 on it, where he breaks down how to build Claygent to go and do amazing targeted research for your client to help you really do, because some clients we can do spray and pray for. Other clients, we need to do like full account-based marketing, ABM, hyper-focused. So you can build Claygent to go research and score the company, research and find people within the company. And it can do all of that with like fresh eyes in a way that you've never seen it done before. And he breaks it down really simply. And it's very similar to kind of what I was trying to do when we spoke a year ago, which was go find a lot of data points and jam them into GPT and use those to write emails, right? So if you can go spend an AI agent to go scrape things and find case studies on their website and find all of these different things that you can bring into a pool, or a pot and stir around that AI soup and then come out with something that says like, hey, saw this case study on your website, whatever, we can help you do X, Y, and Z. That's like what we're finding a lot of success in. And I would highly suggest everyone definitely go get that course from Jordan. It's amazing, man.
Yeah, I've extensively tested the tree AI idea stuff. Nowadays, I'm more about like short AI stuff because of deliverability, because sometimes these ideas, they can be quite long. So very short AI snippets. How do you make sure that these ideas are smart and relevant? Like, do you have a prompt for that? Because most of them all look the same.
Yeah. So again, you gotta like definitely need to carve that out and make your own. I would say the 3 ideas thing has a shelf life. In fact, I'm surprised sometimes that it still works. And I would say that like if you're just starting, it's a good place to start, but probably not the end all be all, right? I would say that almost like we're going to look back when we chat again in another 6 months or a year, and we're going to say, oh my God, dude, I can't believe we used to do that. Right. And that's how it is. It's all cyclical. So I wouldn't rely on it, but like, I think that's a great place to start. When it comes to creating the small snippets, what I usually do is I see people like really free forming their prompts. I always take a prompt and I put it back into GPT and say, like, structure this in a way that will make sense to create like a really strong output. And it will go back and it will say body instructions, like it will create it the way it's supposed to, which is like give it I forget what the framework is called, but like instructions, blah, blah, blah. Like there's like 4 different points that it will break it down into. And that's how you get consistent outputs with less hallucination, which is really important.
Yeah, it's like, hey, GPT, make me smarter. It's always hard to have GPT like provide something smarter than your own brain, or your own database. So sometimes I guess it's feeding it some frameworks of top sales experts, which is also hard to do, right? Because I mean, they all say the same thing
Yeah.
nowadays. So I guess it's also like writing down your thoughts and your second brain in one document and feeding it to it would be a good tip here. Last but not least, I want to ask you like about your 40K client. I guess that client started at a lower scale. Generally speaking, is there a scale? Is there a methodology to signing up very high ticket clients, or is this like signing up on the low ticket and serve them well and eventually they reach a 40K?
I think it's just knowing that you can do it, right? Knowing that you have the framework, knowing that they have a big enough TAM, and then reverse engineering the cost, right? So how big is your guys' TAM? What is your average deal size? And you start to kind of back into, okay, hey, I think that we can feasibly send, 1 million emails a month to get this job done for you. Based on that, from what you've told me, you guys have a huge sales team. Your average demo rate is this, or demo booking rate is this, your average demo show rate is this, your average deal size is this. So functionally, if we send a million emails, and we should get this results. And if you can look at that and say, okay, 1 to 2% of that is X, Y, or Z, or 3 to 4% of this is A, B, and C, and we think that that's a really reasonable amount, then you've just backed into your goals. So that's just the way we look at it. I think you got to get those meetings on the board and know, hey, look, like we've built a structure and a framework that's strong enough to do the work of 10 people. And as long as you can do that, you're good. So that's it. I was gonna say one other thing. Have you been using any of the I just had it pulled up. Have you been using like WhisperFlow or Flow Voice or any of these tools? I think
No, what are they?
WhisperFlow is like a dictation thing, and I use that with my prompting a lot. So I learned that from Jordan. He uses this tool WhisperFlow, and he'll open up Claude, right? Because I usually start in Claude nowadays because I think Claude is working a lot better for that. And you just like hold down the function key on your keyboard and you just talk, and it is like the most seamless, quickest dictation thing. So I will just press that button and I'll start talking to Claude and get some feedback. I'll start talking to it some more. And like in terms of time hacks, because I know you're a time hack type of guy, this WhisperFlow tool has been really dope lately, especially when you're dealing with prompting and things like that. It's pretty fire.
Very interesting. Yeah. I've been trying to use Dan Siroker's Limitless / Scribe AI, but the guy's kind of creepy. And I rarely say that, but like giving all my data I just don't trust the guy, Anyway, so I've been like trying key loggers and stuff like that would record like everything that I type. And yeah, I'll A/B test Flow, WhisperFlow, and Flow Voice AI, and see what I can do with these tools, because I think it's very important to record pretty much everything you say, you think, so that you can have an agent being deployed for you. I think that will be pretty soon, right? Claude has been talking about RPA agents in the 3 weeks ago, and
It's
I
crazy,
feel
by the
they're
way.
going to be like the first in deploying that. And of course, OpenAI is going to follow with their own chat agent. So that's going to be interesting. Anyway, dude, I know you're on time. Tell us where we can find out more about you and RevReply and RevGen.
Yeah, so RevGen Labs, obviously, www.revgenlabs.com is the agency. Always down to have conversations and help. RevReply, again, if you go and sign up for RevReply, hit us up in the chat, say you saw this conversation, and we'll hook you up. If you find me on LinkedIn, I'm releasing a lot of content. And a lot of that is lead magnets to our private group that I run called Tuesday Triggers. So you guys, of course, are all invited to it. I think I need to re-invite you. I think there's an activity bot that said Charles hadn't posted in a long time and may have pulled you. But anyways, if you hit me up on LinkedIn, I'll invite you guys to the private group. There's tiers to it, but we have great speakers every week and everything. So bringing a lot of talented people to help you guys get better at lead gen and outbound.
Was Chris